Welcome everyone to our May Artist webinar. I'm going to give a few minutes while people join in, but while you're joining, if you could just pop into the chat, introduce yourself so that I know that you are here and you can hear me and see me. I try to switch up the question that we're going to ask, so I'm feeling summer vibes, so why don't you pop into chat and let me know your favorite ice cream flavor. All right, I'm starting to see a lot of chat fly by. Awesome. Fast and furious in the chat. I can't even keep up with these favorite ice cream flavors. I was going to try and catch mine when it went by. Mine's very specific though, so I don't know if it's in there. I did see someone mention possibly a sound issue. If you at any time throughout this event have issues hearing or seeing the video, just refresh your browser and that should fix it. All right, I don't know if I missed it, but my favorite ice cream is extremely specific, and it's Ben & Jerry's New York Super Fudge Junk. It's the best one, no contest. Ooh, coffee ice cream is also good though, Carmen. Awesome. All right, while y'all are still getting to know each other through your favorite ice cream flavors in chat, I'm gonna go ahead and get us started because this workshop today is 1 hour and we want to fit in a lot with our artist Amanda. So I'm going to get some webinar housekeeping things out of the way first. So first, thank you so much for joining us today for our workshop about how to create seamless repeats in Procreate with artist Amanda Houston. If you're new to our artist webinars, hello, my name is Jessie Katz-Greenberg and I'm the artist community manager here at Spoonflower. If this is in fact your very first artist webinar with us, I want to make sure that you have everything you need to stay up to date with artist events at Spoonflower. And to do that, you can subscribe to our email. So I'm going to go ahead and share that link in chat now. In just a bit, I'll be bringing Amanda to the stage, but first let's go over a few more details. Reminder that for this workshop, you're going to need your charged iPad with the Procreate app already downloaded, and an Apple Pencil that is charged and paired with your iPad. So Procreate, if you're not familiar, is a program that is specific to the Apple iPad. So if you don't have an iPad and you don't have Procreate yet, you're welcome to stay and follow along. You'll hopefully get a little bit of an understanding of seamless repeats in general. But if you want to check out our blog, you can also find tutorials for creating seamless repeats with other programs, and I'm going to go ahead and share that link in chat now as well. So we are recording this event. We'll share the replay with you. You'll actually receive a recording directly following the event, and then we're also going to share it to our YouTube channel in the next week or so. So if you miss anything, don't worry, you'll be able to catch up there. And then if you, like I said, if you experience any technical difficulties throughout this, just refresh your browser and you should be good to go. As you can see, I am sharing a ton of links in chat throughout this event. And so we've also created a handout for you that includes all of those links that you can easily reference. So you should see that above the chat. You should see a section for handouts and you'll be able to save that. It includes links for Spoonflower resources, Procreate resources, as well as links to get to know our presenter, Amanda. One important thing about this workshop, you'll notice that we can't see all of your lovely faces, but we definitely want to see all of your projects from this class. So to do that, please be sure to snap a photo of your work during or after class and share that to Instagram and tag both Spoonflower and Amanda. So I'm going to share links to both of those Instagrams in the chat now. There we go. So you'll see Spoonflower is just at Spoonflower and Amanda is at Amanda Houston Design. And let's see, handout link. Ah, here we go. Let me activate that for you. All right, now you should be able to download that handout. If you still can't, please pop into the chat and let me know. So if you have any questions during this workshop, just type them into the chat and we will address them from there. I will be answering questions as we go, and Amanda may pause every so often to answer questions live as well. And finally, I'm going to launch one more thing before I welcome Amanda to the stage. And this is going to be a poll that's going to pop up on your screen. And this is just so we can learn what your experience is with seamless repeat patterns in Procreate. So is this the first time that you're using Procreate? Have you used Procreate before, but not to make repeats? Or have you made seamless repeat patterns in Procreate already? So you should see that poll and be able to answer. I'm just making sure that that link looks like it's working. It looks like it has shared on my end, but I don't see responses rolling in yet. Here we go. Always a little bit of a delay. That makes me nervous. I see responses starting to come in now. So make sure you fill out that poll, and that will just help us kind of understand what experience you're coming to this workshop with. It'll help us in how to answer your questions as well. Awesome. Seeing a good mix, but so far it looks like most people have used Procreate, but not to make repeats, which is perfect for this workshop. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring Amanda up to the stage. And while I do that, I'm going to give her a little bit of an intro. So Amanda Houston is an illustrator, surface designer, wife, and proud mama to 2 amazing kids. She began her career as an artist almost a decade ago, beginning first as a calligrapher for weddings and special events. After discovering her passion for illustration and teaching herself the ins and outs of Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, Amanda began her career as a surface designer over 5 years ago and has never looked back. Her artwork can be found in stores such as Target, Hobby Lobby, Home Goods, and more. On a normal day, you'll find Amanda dreaming up new collections for licensing through her agency, Pink Light Studio, or enjoying the outdoors with her family. And on a personal note, I have to add that I recently had the honor of taking a Procreate workshop from Amanda in person. She is a talented artist and wonderful teacher, and we're so excited to have her here with us today. So I hope you'll all show her a lot of love in the chat, and welcome Amanda.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jessie. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure everybody can hear me before we
Yes.
get going.
Yep.
All right.
I hear you. And if you want to go ahead and try sharing your second camera, and then once we know that that is all good to go, I will leave you to it.
Okay. So let's see. Sorry, just a moment.
Nope, you're all good.
Connecting. There we go.
Beautiful.
All right. You see this? All right. This is the action. This is where it's all going to happen. So we got to make sure you can see that.
Awesome. All right. So it looks like we can see your iPad. So I am going to leave the stage and let you take it away, Amanda. If anything comes up in chat, I'll pop back in and talk through some questions with you. But otherwise, everyone, I'll be answering your questions in chat, and have fun creating on your iPads.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I'm excited to be able to share with you a skill I use regularly in my work, and that is how to create a repeating pattern. There are so many different ways you can do this. You can use Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and often I will vary the technique I use depending on the client that I'm working with and what they prefer. But I love using Procreate because it's so simple. It's very approachable. All you need is your iPad, Apple Pencil, and the Procreate app. So you can do it from pretty much anywhere. And that's what I love about it. Before I jump in, just a little bit more about me. I know Jessie shared that I am a freelance illustrator and surface designer. And basically what that means is I create artwork for surfaces. So anything that has a surface applied to it. Fabric, wallpaper, gift wrap, greeting cards, journals, wall art. I love my job. It's so much fun. And there's really just so much variety in what I do. So I find so much joy in it. And another joy of mine is teaching what I know to other people, because I know for me how life-changing it was almost 10 years ago when I started this career. It actually came out of my new motherhood journey. I became a mom, and I had a different career before this, and I needed a creative outlet, and I needed something to fulfill that creative side in me. And I really found that in art. And I never would have imagined what I would be able to do with this, and the flexibility, being that I am a mom now of 2, is just wonderful. And so I'm excited to share that with you guys too, because this is such a great skill to have in your tool belt. You will be able to use this and apply it in so many different ways. So I'm glad you are here. Let me just make sure there aren't any pressing questions before I get started. All right, awesome. Okay, so before we begin, just a little disclaimer. I know some of you popped in that poll that you haven't used Procreate before, and that there are a lot of you who have used Procreate, but you haven't created a repeat pattern before. And some of you have created it before, so that's wonderful. This may be just a different way of doing it, or it might be the same method you use and you'll get some good practice here. But either way, just know I'm going to do my best to go slowly, or at least at a pace that everyone can follow along with. I will not be doing an introduction to Procreate, so I won't we just don't have time to cover all the basics of Procreate today, but we will be, I will, take my time to describe where things are and stuff like that. But don't worry if you fall behind, if you've never used Procreate before, it's totally understandable. If you are like, where is that? Oh, I can't keep up. So don't worry if you get lost. There will be a recording of this and it will be shared on the Spoonflower YouTube after the event. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and open up my iPad here and open up Procreate. Let's see. I'm going to make sure you guys can see my full screen. Okay, awesome. So open up your Procreate app, and today we're going to be making something pretty similar to this. This is our repeating tile swatch, and it'll be similar. So we're going to try to keep it pretty simple and approachable for everyone. We're not going to focus a ton of time on the artwork. I want to really focus on the actual logistics of creating the pattern. And so that's where we're going to start. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new canvas. So if you're just in the regular Procreate, the screen that opens up as soon as you open it, you're going to click on the plus sign in the top right corner, and you'll see right next to new canvas another plus sign. Go ahead and click that. And this is where you can set your dimensions, color profile, and all of those preferences. We're going to change our dimensions to inches down here on the bottom left and set it at 6 by 6. We'll keep it at the 300 DPI. And your color profile for this should actually be on RGB. That is the recommended color profile for Spoonflower's website. And then you'll just click the orange Create button in the top right corner. And that is your new canvas. So this is a 6 by 6 canvas. And this is what we'll be working with today. Now, this is by no means the only size you can use for creating a repeat pattern. This is just what we'll be using for today. A couple of notes with Procreate. Anything that is outside of your canvas boundaries is going to be cut off. So you want to make sure anything you draw is well within those lines. And as you'll see when we're making our repeat patterns, it's extremely important that nothing touches the edges, and even that we leave a little space around the edges, because as you'll see in the process that we do for creating the repeat, having that kind of extra space is really vital to being able to make a seamless repeat that flows nicely. So now that we have our canvas open, we're going to pick a color palette, and we're actually just going to go really simple here. I have actually just picked 3 colors, and 2 of them are an orange. I started with an orange and then just did like a lighter shade of that orange, and then a kind of creamy white color. And those are the 3 colors I'm going to be using today. If you'd like to pick any other 3 colors, that's totally fine. It's totally up to you. And I'll show you how to do that, how to create your own little palette just like this as well. So we're going to click on the plus sign here, and it will give you the option to create a new palette. And this will be your new palette right here. It'll come to the top and it's this empty one here. So once you have that, you will, with that selected, click on disk. I'm going to select my Procreate webinar palette. Whoops. And then go over to the disk, and it will have just that palette that you had selected right here. So in here, we can add our colors. So if you want to just pick like kind of a pretty orangey peach color, or if you want to pick any other colors, it's totally fine. But if you want to pick kind of along the lines of what I have, we've got this orangey pink or orangey peach color. And to add it to your palette, you just tap in any of the squares here. So you might want to just pick, say you picked this orange color here, we'll bring it over here a little bit for a lighter version of that. And then grab like a creamy white color as well. And if you added anything you don't like, you can just tap and hold and then click on delete swatch, and it will delete that for you. You can also move the tiles around if you're like me and you like to have everything nice and organized. I'm trying to move this guy. There we go. All right, so but for today, I'm going to use the colors I already had selected. Hopefully by now everyone has 3 colors selected, but I am going to just make sure I didn't miss anything. And yes, technically this would be 2 colors, but this is not just a simple white, it is a creamy white color. And so I did want to have just a little bit of tone in there. Okay, perfect. So now that we have that set, we are going to, first, normally I would take the time to actually sketch out my design. But again, we're just trying to get some artwork on our palette quickly here, or on our canvas quickly here, so we can move forward to the next step of actually creating the repeat pattern. So for today, we're just going to keep it super simple and actually get started with the artwork right away. So the first thing we're going to do is deselect our background color. We're going to toggle off the visibility by checking this box right here. And then we're going to select the color we'd like for our background, which will be, in this case, I'm using this lighter orangey peach color. And with that selected, you'll know it's selected because it'll be in this little circle at the top right here. With that selected, open your layers panel, tap on your first layer, and select fill layer. Now there is a reason we've done this instead of just filling our background color with this color. And I'll explain, and it'll make a little more sense too in a few minutes. The background color option, when you select that, it is essentially a repeating pattern. It repeats endlessly. There's no breaks to it, essentially. So if we were to move our artwork around, that is not going to move with it later. You can't move the background color around. So we want to be able to use something to be kind of a guide when we do move things around later that has our full 6x6 dimensions filled. And so that is what this background layer is going to act as. And you'll see a little bit more what I mean by that as we keep moving forward. All right, so now that we have our background layer filled, and I'm just going to make sure. All right, perfect. Jesse's doing a great job of answering questions. So thank you, Jesse. All right, so now we're going to add another layer by just clicking on the plus sign here in the layers panel. And once we have another layer selected, we are going to grab our creamy white or whatever other, if you chose a different color for your third option. You can grab that right now. Really, the biggest thing is that we just want contrast between all 3 so you can see all of them well. I'm going to go over to my brush library, and under the calligraphy section of brushes, I'm going to select the monoline brush. And I have mine set at about 40% over here. This is the sizing of the brush. As you'll see, it moves up and down in size. And then down here is opacity. So right now I have it at 100%. Sometimes this will get bumped and you're drawing and you're like, where's my art? Look over here to make sure you haven't accidentally turned down your opacity all the way. All right, so we are going to start by simply drawing some daisies. This will be really simple. I'm just going to actually go real easy like that. And then once you close the shape, you can actually use the color drop. So you do that by, I'll show that one more time here. Just draw a little flower, and it doesn't have to be exactly like mine, or you can copy mine exactly how it is, whatever you feel comfortable with. The color drop feature is great because if you have any fully closed shape, you can just touch and drag your color that it's selected on and release it within the shape, and it will totally fill that shape for you. So it saves a little bit of time coloring things in, that's for sure. All right, so I'm going to just start by drawing 3 daisies or flower shapes in here. And on a new layer, I'm going to draw a center, and I'm just going to use this darker orange here. And same thing, I'm going to just draw the circle, and once it is a closed shape, then I can drag and drop using the color drop feature. Okay, perfect. So I should have a layer that is the center of my flowers, a flowers layer, and the background at this point. Let me make sure everyone's tracking along. I see a couple of questions that I need to answer, so I'm going to take a look. Okay, yes, Leah asked, do you have a paper-like screen protector on your iPad? Yes, I do. I got that on Amazon. There we go. Yeah, I love it because it definitely feels more like you're working on paper, which I kind of prefer. Sometimes just the regular screen of your iPad can feel pretty slick. So I do recommend that if you are having trouble with just the iPad screen. When I fill it like that, the outline still looks a little different than the fill. Anything I can do to have it all look the same. So that might be your, I think if you're, Joanna, if you're talking about the color drop feature, let me just see. If you drag and drop, you'll see once you drop it, I'm sorry, let me do that again. As you drag it over, when you hold it there, it might be that your threshold is too low. So if you keep it held down, you can actually slide to the right or the left to increase or decrease the threshold. So that might be the problem. It might just be very low on the threshold, so it's not totally filling in the shape for you. So you could give that a try. All right. Perfect. Okay, looks like we're pretty good for now on questions. Okay, so now what we're going to do is essentially, because as you can see, there's still a lot of space on here, right? And I could continue to put things in all of these spaces all the way up to the edges if I wanted. But then when it comes time to actually turn it into a repeating pattern, it will look more like square tiles, and we want to have the ability to put maybe another big flower that will bleed from here into here as it repeats, as it tiles. And the only way we can do that is to bring the outside to the center. And to do that, we are going to essentially think now of our our canvas here as 4 quadrants. So we have our top left, our top right, bottom left, and bottom right. So we're going to group all of our layers here into one group. And we are going to duplicate this 4 times. So you should have 5 groups. So if you just swipe to the left and select duplicate, until you have 5 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to keep this bottom one as our master. We'll toggle off the visibility and just rename that master. And this is just in case something goes wrong later. We have this artwork that we can come back to. We can always come back to this step, and we'll do this all along the way. We'll keep saving a master so we can come right back to it. If something goes wrong a step later, or we don't know where things went wrong, we can always come back to that point. Okay, so now that we've done this, we're going to click on our top group. So selecting the full top group, and come on over here to this arrow icon, the transform icon.
Hey, Amanda, really quick, I wanted to jump in.
Yeah.
Would you be able to just show how to group layers again?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. All right. Yeah, so let me do this. I'll bring these out and pretend like these are the 3 layers you should have. If you tap on the top, swipe to the right on all the layers you'd like to select, then you'll just click group in the top right corner here. And that puts it all in one group. And if you click on this little tiny arrow here, it will collapse the group just so you can see everything a little bit easier, or you can expand it by clicking on that arrow again. All right. So hopefully that helps everybody. Should be, let me just pop over to the chat and see if it appears like everyone's following along. Is everybody doing okay so far? So far, okay. And if you, again, in case you missed it, if you swipe to the right on multiple items, it gives you the option to group them. If you swipe to the left, it gives you the option to duplicate. So swipe to the left, click duplicate. All right, perfect. So everyone should have 5 groups total. The bottom group is going to be our master again, and we will toggle off that visibility because we're not working with that right now. Okay, so hopefully we have made our groups. Okay. And I'll walk through it one more time. It looks like a few people are still having a hard time. So let me bring these out one more time and then we'll move on. So these are the 3 layers you should have. Don't worry about these for a second. So if you have these 3 separate layers, we are going to swipe to the right on all of them and they'll turn blue. That means they're all selected. And then go ahead and click group. And that puts them all in one group. So then you can collapse the group. And then you can duplicate by swiping to the left and selecting duplicate. And you will duplicate that 4 times so you have 5 of the same group. Hoping that makes sense. Okay, we're gonna move on. So with our top group selected, we're coming again over here to our transform arrow. And we want to come down here and first make sure this is set to uniform, which is our second option right here. And then on the bottom, if you click on snapping on the bottom left, just make sure snapping is on. And this is how you know it's on. You'll see the blue right there. Okay. And then you just tap out of it to close out of that and go back to where you are. So, all right. So now I'm going to click on that transform icon or the little arrow at the top there. And you are going to move the entire group up to the top left quadrant. Remember how I talked about thinking about everything in quadrants now? And the way you'll know it's perfectly, because we have the snapping feature turned on, we will know it's perfectly in that top left quadrant because we have two orange lines intersecting here. So if you see the two orange lines, whoops, mine moved a little bit. Make sure yours doesn't do that. Lift up gently and then tap the arrow again to place it. And once you do that, it actually crops everything else that's not in view on the canvas. So we've done that with our top group. We're going to do the same thing with our second group, except we're going to move it over to our top left quadrant. And again, you'll see horizontal and vertical orange lines, and then release. Go to our third group, click on the arrow, do the same thing with the bottom left. Gotta find the, sometimes it takes a minute to find the center. There we go. So I have the orange, both vertical and horizontal. And again, just be really careful when you lift up your pencil. Sometimes it moves just ever so slightly, and that will make our repeat not work. And then with our fourth group, we're going to do the same thing, moving down to the bottom right quadrant. And then always tap on your arrow once you have it set, because then it will crop everything for you. So I will go back and do that again in a minute, because I know some people, I can see that some people are maybe having a hard time. Whoops, there we go. But I just want to make a quick note. As you can see, we had all that space around the edges and it was hard to fill, right? So now we've brought all of that essentially here to the center so we can fill it in now. And that's what's going to make our repeat pattern flow nicely and flow into each other. As you can see, the rest of this flower is cut off right here. The rest of this flower repeats here. So things are working. But I'm going to go back actually and do that whole thing one more time. Make sure I went all the way back. Okay. So one more time, just for that process, because this is really like the most important part of it. You're going to grab your top group, just select your top group, by make sure that it's blue. And that's how you know the whole group is selected, not just one layer. And you are going to tap on the arrow icon over here and making sure snapping is turned on. You should be able to move the entire group up to the top left quadrant. And once you see orange lines going both directions, release. And then tap back on your arrow. Coming back over to our layers panel, you'll click on your second group. Click on the arrow again. And we'll bring that entire group up to our top right quadrant. Release, and then make sure to tap that arrow again to set things. Coming down to our third group, we'll tap on the arrow icon, bring it down to our bottom left quadrant. And again, we've got our orange lines going both ways. And finally, with our fourth group, we are going to move this down to the bottom right quadrant. So it should look somewhat like this when you've finished that process. Okay, so now you will see, if you open up these groups, you'll see now that all of these layers we had before, they're cropped, because like I said, once something goes outside of the canvas, it cuts it off. And so what we want to do to make our lives a little easier and more organized is put all of the alike items on the same layer. And to do that, we're going to practice again the selecting and grouping process. So tap first on your top layer within your first group. And I should have mentioned first also to go ahead and expand all of your groups by clicking on this little arrow. So you should have all your groups open except for your master right now. And you should see 3 layers within all 4 of the groups. And if you're there, go ahead and tap on the first layer within your top group. This should be the centers of your flowers. And then on the next group, you're going to swipe right on that top layer. And it may even look like there's nothing there, but it could just be that it has the slightest like sliver of some artwork or some pixels on there that got cut on the edge. And so you want to make sure to select it still, because that's going to be crucial for your repeat pattern still. So you're going to swipe to the right on that one. Same thing with the next, the next group and the center of that flower. And then the last group and the flower center as well. And once you have all of the layers that should be the center of your flowers selected, you're going to click group, which is in this top right corner here. And now you'll see that those are in their own group. If you collapse that, this is just a group of flower centers. And with all of these in one group together, we're going to tap on that group specifically and say flatten. So now we've brought all the centers of the flowers to one layer. So now we can do the same thing with all of these flowers here. Again, I just went in within each group to the layer where the flowers are found and swipe to the right on all of them to select. And then we will select group. At the top of that group, tap on it. And there's an option to flatten, and that will bring them all onto one layer again. And the same with all of our background layer. We're going to select all of them, group, and flatten. So now we should have, again, one group that is just 3 layers. And these can be deleted because they're now empty groups. Okay, everyone following along? Let's see if I have any new questions in here. I don't think so. Okay. Awesome. So everyone should be here, hopefully. And now what we're going to do, since, this would be kind of weird to have just this strange space here in the middle of our pattern, we're going to fill that in. So we are going to select our flowers layer. Select whatever color you chose for your flowers. And we're going to fill it in here with a couple of flowers. And these can be whatever size you want. I'm actually going to throw in a couple of smaller ones. And we'll do an even smaller one right here. Okay. And then we'll go to our layer that has the centers of our flowers, and we'll go ahead and choose the color we had for our flower centers and draw those in as well. Okay, this is looking better. But I would say I would like to see probably one more little flower that would go between these 2 spaces here. And I just know that because I've done this a lot of times. And the more you practice it, the more you'll be able to see those little spots that are going to need filling in once you actually put the pattern into a repeat. So this is good because we're going to practice that whole process one more time. So you'll get another chance to do that whole grouping process and moving things around in the quadrants. And you can actually do this again and again. You can keep redoing the process of essentially moving the center to the outside or the outside to the center. You can do that again and again until you get your pattern to a place where you're really happy with it. I'm going to check a question really quick. How did you know that the layer looked like nothing was the center of the flower? Oh, so if you open up your layers, I can see kind of a preview right here. You can see that there's like some artwork on there. Sometimes it's really hard to see. Sometimes there's nothing visible in this little preview here, but it doesn't mean there's nothing on that layer. And particularly because I know I had, particularly because I knew I drew onto all of those layers, and the fact that it saved it when I cropped things out, I knew there had to be at least a couple of pixels on there. So that's why I just selected it anyway to keep it in the artwork. So hopefully that makes sense. And then one more question, how to flatten layers. So, so to flatten layers, we swipe to the right, or sorry, to flatten layers, you just select the top of the group. So you tap on the group and then you can select flatten, and that will bring the whole thing together. But we're not going to do that with these because we want to keep these on separate layers at this point. Okay. So we are going to duplicate this group again 4 times. So we can do that whole process of moving things around and adding in, I think probably one more little flower would go nicely between these 2 spots. So we are going to swipe to the left to duplicate our group. And we're going to do that 4 times. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, plus the master we still have saved. This will now act as our new master. This is saving us basically from this point. So we will just rename that, whoops, master 2. And we'll toggle off the visibility on that as well. And now with these groups, we can come back over to our transform arrow and do that same process, moving things around to the quadrants. So starting with our top left quadrant, make sure you see our orange lines. Then we'll do our top right. Bottom left. And bottom right. Okay, perfect. So now that we're here, again, we're going to do that process where we expand all the groups. So click on the little arrow so you can see everything that's in these groups. And we're going to start with the centers of our flowers. Swipe right on all of those layers and select group in the top right. Tap on the group just right above that one. You want to make sure you're selecting the group for these and select flatten. And then we'll do the same thing with our flower layers, group and flatten. And the same thing with our backgrounds, we'll group and flatten. So we should be again back to here where we have our 3 layers, our background, our flower, and the centers of our flowers. We'll go ahead and delete these additional groups over here. And select our flower layer so we can draw in another flower. And I'm going to draw a little guy right here. and then come on over to the centers of our flowers layer and just draw that little guy in. Now, if you feel like you want to move anything around, one of my favorite features, if you go on the layer you want to move, so say I want to move this flower just a little bit down here and maybe scale it down a little or whatever it is you want to do. Go to the layer where the artwork is that you want to select and click on this little icon that looks like an S right here. Next to the arrow is a selection tool. And if you have it set to freehand, you can draw around any element within your canvas. And once you close the shape, tap on this arrow right here and it will select just that little piece there. So you can move just that piece. So I'm actually just going to move it just a touch over here because I feel like that will look a little more balanced. And then once you have it where you want it to be, you'll tap on the arrow again to set it. And then I'll move the center of the flower as well, just slightly. And then tap on the arrow. Again, not something you have to do at this moment, but it's a really great tool to have because I just love how simple it is to move things around. So again, that was this selection icon right here. Set it to freehand. You can draw around anything. Just make sure you're on the layer. You have it selected to the layer that you want to move. Click on the arrow to move it around. And then once you have it set where you want it, click on the arrow again to set it. Okay, so this is a repeating pattern swatch, and I'm pretty happy with this. I think, again, if you wanted, you could do that whole process again of duplicating 4 times, moving things around in case you wanted to fill in any more spots. But I'm pretty happy with how this is, and I want to test this and see how it looks once it is repeating. So that's something we can do just right here within our app, and it's very simple. So what we're going to do is let's collapse this group so it's easier to duplicate. And we're going to also duplicate this 4 times. Swipe to the left, duplicate. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of that group. This one, again, it is a master. And this is just to save it at this step in case something, well, actually, in case you test it and it doesn't work for some reason, or you want to go back to this step and maybe add some things in once you do see how it looks repeated. So we'll just call this master 3. And make sure you toggle off the visibility on that. And then what's different now is we are going to actually select all 4 of our groups by swiping to the right. And we're not grouping them, we're just selecting all 4 of them at the same time. And we're going to click on our transform arrow over here. Now, with it set to uniform here at the bottom, and again with snapping on, we're going to scale all 4 of our groups to fit just 1 square, 1 quadrant, okay? So we're bringing it all up to the top left corner. You should see orange lines, horizontal and vertical. And once you see that, gently release and tap on the arrow. And we should all be right here. I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure everybody's there. So again, we're going to select all of our groups by tapping on the top one and then swipe to the right on all 4 of those groups and then tap on the arrow. Grab this little blue dot in the right corner. And again, it needs to be set on uniform and snapping. And just bring it all the way to fill just the top left quadrant. Whoops, see, it moved on me when I picked up my pencil. So make sure you get it just right. Okay, then we'll tap on our arrow And now this is the fun part. This is where the magic happens. Go ahead and grab your top group and tap on the arrow. So just one group is selected now. Let me make sure you guys see that. Just our top group is now selected. We're going to tap on the arrow and move this one down to the bottom quadrant till we get our lines, and tap on the arrow. Look at that. Pretty. Okay. And then we'll grab our next group and move that just to, we're basically just filling in the rest of this square. Make sure we have our orange horizontal and vertical lines. And then grab the next group and bring it on over to the last, to fill the last square. And that gives you a good idea of what your pattern looks like when it's repeated. So again, like I said, if you want at this point, it's actually a good idea to zoom in and make sure you don't see any lines or breaks or just, you know, like something slightly got off. This is a great way to test that, to make sure it's a good pattern to be able to use for selling or wherever you might be using it next. But also I love doing this step because then you can see some things that maybe you'd want to tweak in your design. So maybe I would move this flower a little bit more like over here or something. And just to give it a little bit more symmetry and flow. If you wanted to do that, then you'd simply go back to your most recent master and you can make those changes from there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these test groups and go back to my master 3 because I'm pretty happy with this. I think this looks good. This is the pattern swatch that you would use to upload to Spoonflower. So from this point, all you would do is click on the wrench icon up here in the top left, click on share, and you can choose JPEG or PNG. I believe both of those are supported on Spoonflower. And then it gives you the option to export it to your computer. You can save it directly to your iPad. You can email it to yourself, whatever you want. And then if it's just saved on your iPad, for instance, you can even upload it straight to Spoonflower's site from your iPad. So it's really simple. Again, you can do everything right from here. So I'm going to hop over and see if there's any other questions I missed really quick. Well, it looks like I got all of them. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that is basically the process. I'm hoping that made sense to everyone. I know, especially if you're new to Procreate, that might have gone a little bit too quickly for you, but hopefully watching back the replay after you've had a little bit more time getting comfortable in the app will give you everything you need to be able to do this successfully.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That was awesome. And I know we knew we were fitting a lot into a 1-hour webinar. I'm happy to see that some people were able to follow along, and that even if you couldn't, that you were learning along with us and watching. And we are definitely going to take your feedback, everyone in the chat, that these workshop style webinars, maybe we can save some more time for them. I also want to get to just a few more things, to share a few more links and resources with you. But most importantly, Amanda, thank you so much. That was fantastic. And you have me inspired now to go create even more patterns. So fun. Everyone in the audience, right? And it's addicting when you see the magic of testing it in Procreate. It's addicting.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so if you followed along, even if you didn't finish a pattern, if you just have a work in progress, snap a photo of your iPad and share your work with us on Instagram. Be sure to tag @Spoonflower and @AmandaHoustonDesign. I'm going to go ahead and share those links in the chat again for you so you have them easy at your fingertips. If you're looking for more design tutorials from Spoonflower, check out our blog. I'm going to reshare that link as well. And again, this is all in the handout that is in the upper right hand of your window. So if you joined us late, there is a handout. If you click that handout section, you should be able to download it, and it has all of these resources that I'm sharing. I saw a lot of questions about GIMP in the chat as well, which is a free design program that you can use on your computer. And from that link, you'll be able to find a GIMP tutorial in our previous symposium as well. So hopefully y'all find that helpful. And then lastly, I know that we all have a lot of feedback from this workshop, and if you've attended other webinars, then you're very familiar with this, but we like to send out a survey at the end of all of our events. This just helps us plan future webinars and events that are going to be most helpful to you, our artists. You should be redirected there directly following this event, but I'm going to go ahead and share that link in chat just to be sure. And I already see it happening, but I just want to make sure before we sign off here, everyone give just a warm thank you to Amanda in chat. You blew through so much for us so quickly, and I think that this replay is going to be extremely helpful, so we can all kind of like pause and work at our own place too. So thank you again, Amanda.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Keep creating and share those pictures on Instagram so we can see what you all made. I can't wait to go catch up with you all there. All right. Have a great one, everyone. Bye.